everyone, and welcome to our YouTube channel. You are on L'Artiste Village. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for subscribing to our YouTube channel. We are today in Louise Langlois workshop or studio, away from home. It's a new studio that she rents in Saint-Henri, just next to Canal La Chine. It's a very, very nice area. Maybe we'll film a little bit afterwards and we'll leave it here at the end of this video. I know Louise for quite some time, almost, I don't know, 10 years?
10 years, yeah, I would say 10 years.
Yeah, so she's a very good friend, and those of you that do not know her yet, I'm sure you'll be delighted to discover her art. And not only art, but the love for music. So I'll stop talking, I'll turn around the camera, and we'll start talking to Louise. Hi Louise, and thank you again for accepting this interview today. It's a very nice Sunday morning. The sun is out, and here in your back we have a very nice courtyard, a very green courtyard. Your studio looks amazing. You're surrounded here, of course, by your paintings.
Yes, a few
and
of my works.
Your violin. I'm very excited for our viewers to discover you. So maybe you can start by, I don't know, introducing yourself, and maybe you can share how is your journey in art, and how did you start painting? How did you start playing the violin? So how did you discover your passion for both visual and arts and music?
Well, Roxana, it's lovely to be with you today. Thank you for asking me to be part of this journey on your part. One day we'll have to turn the camera and ask you questions.
We'll do that.
So my artistic journey started when I was just a young child. I started to learn violin, and I wanted to play like my neighbor was playing violin. So I started violin, and I played, and I studied violin in university, amongst other things. And that's how it all started, and that's how I started teaching also, because I've always taught violin since all that time. And I was a grade school art teacher, and the journey to becoming an art teacher is doing two arts, and I had chosen the music and the visual arts. So that's really when I started more painting, and this was later in the 1990s. And then I was initiated to painting with toll painting. But then I would ask the teacher, oh, could we do this blue? It's not a good blue. Can we do this yellow? And she took me out of that beginner class and put me elsewhere because she says, you have a flair for some things. So she said, she taught me individually at that point. So that's how it started, and eventually I wanted to see how I could combine everything, and this is what brings me to having violins
in your art.
In my art, yes. So I like to use old strings, old bridges,
like real ones.
Yes, real ones that have given their life already to the instrument, because we have to change them regularly. So any pieces that I would care to.
So otherwise would be thrown away?
Yeah, they would be thrown away, exactly, yeah. So
you're giving them a second life?
Yes.
A forever life?
A forever life, yes. They live differently. So that's how it started, and that's how it's continuing.
Maybe you can talk a little bit more about how do you find your inspiration for your art, and if there is a specific message that you like to...
Well, the message I try to convey is to attract the viewer to see textures, to see different mediums, because I'm interested in a whole bunch of things. And I want want to get to their heartstrings.
Very nicely said.
Strings. So my inspiration comes from, of course, my training. It comes from outside. It comes from my curiosity, because I'm very interested in finding different things. This is why I think we'll talk about a little later, but the fresco part of my journey is out of curiosity that, oh, let's try this. That looks fun. And I'm not an artist that is always in the same mold. I like to think beyond the box, outside the box. So that's basically what I'm looking for.
It looks like curiosity followed you in your career.
What followed me?
Curiosity.
My curiosity, yes.
Yeah, as you mentioned earlier, the teacher that you're annoying with questions, but that was a good annoying. So
it was a good annoying, that's for sure. Yes, yes.
So that's very cool.
Yeah,
I like how you combine, as you mentioned, the music, your passion for music, and then also the part of the visual art. I know also that you are part of several artist association, the Beaconsfield Artist Association.
Oh, I'm not anymore.
No? Well, you were.
I were for many, many, many years, yes.
Okay,
yes,
you were.
yes.
And I guess that's how we collaborated for a number of years at L'Artelier, but also Lakeshore Artist Association,
yes.
You are still a
I'm
member.
Still a member, yes.
Yeah,
I'm president.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
So maybe you can talk a little bit about the West Island art scene, if you want, and also I know that the Lakeshore Artists Association organizes a spring and a fall exhibition at Stuart Hall and then Fritz Farm in Baie d'Urfé. And there is one upcoming shortly.
In 2 weeks.
Yeah, maybe you can tell us a little bit more so that maybe some of our viewers that do not know about it.
Well, of course, you're all invited on September 9 and 10th at the beautiful Stuart Hall, on the beautiful Stuart Hall grounds. And it's rain or shine, and if it rains, we'll be inside, but if it's a lovely day like today, we'll be outside and meeting customers and visitors, and that's part of being an artist also, I find. And I'll go back to the associations. When I decided I was going to be devoting much more time to painting, I said I have to meet other artists. I have to meet people who have the same interests in art as me. And I became part of 2 associations at that time. There was l'Atelier de Peinture de la Chine, with Martha, who you've interviewed a couple of weeks back, and then I joined the Beaconsfield Artists, and it's fun because it's like-minded people, and we did shows with them, and you get to see how everybody works, and that's very important to see.
To do exchange
just to talk about the reality of being an artist these days. It's different from 10 years ago. It's different from 20 years ago, and it's will be different in 10 years from now.
Definitely.
And so I started volunteering then on the association. I'm the type of person who wants to get involved, because I find if you're taking from somebody who's built something, at one point it becomes your turn to give to the community. So I was with the Beaconsfield Association for a long time, and then I applied to the Lakeshore Artists, because that's a juried membership. And 1 year they took me. So that was quite an honor.
I remember.
You remember that,
when
right?
you gave me the news, yes.
Yes.
You're very excited.
I was very excited, because it's a different level a little bit. It's like semi-professionals and professionals, so that brought the bar a little bit higher. And then again, it's a new territory, physical territory, and also artistic territory. So again, going back to volunteering, I signed up to volunteers, and that's been a few years now, and now I'm still volunteering. I'm the president right now, so I get to troubleshoot and do fun things. But again, always trying to honor those who were there before us, because the association has its reputation because of the people who were there before us, and that's really, really important.
So if our viewers would like to learn more about your art and see your art, you have a website.
I have a website, and
I'll put it in the description box
yes,
of
but
the
I will
video.
explain you. My website is called Art par LL, so Louise Langlois, and if you say it fast, it sounds like Art parallèle.
Ah, interesting. So like
and
parallel
that,
art.
yes, and that's a play on word, because
Yeah.
I still play and teach violin, I still paint, and I do different
So
types
it's
of
like
painting. So it's like, you know, like I'm
two
going back and
avenues,
forth.
even though they intersect. But
Yeah,
very
that's it.
interesting. And I'm sure they can also go on the Lakeshore Artists Association,
Yes.
and you have a page dedicated to
Yes,
your art there.
exactly. Yeah, and then you have all the information for the show in a couple of weeks. So
That's
don't
really
be shy.
Cool. Yeah, I'll leave all those information in the description box.
Yeah.
But if we go back to violin and your love for music and violin itself, not only the music that
The
you
instrument.
can play, yeah, the instrument. I know that you took 2 classes
Yeah, I
in
went
France,
twice. Yes.
where you would learn from a luthier
Yeah.
how to make a violin, and you succeeded in making
Yes.
your own. Maybe you can
Yeah.
share with us more about that.
Of course, yes. When I was a teenager, one of my professional strategies was at one point to become a violin maker. I had that interest already way back then, and then through music I met the man who is now my husband of 39 years, and
That's why the emotion in your voice.
yeah, right. A little raspy here. Excuse me. And so life took a different turn with the family and all of this. And then eventually, when things became a little calmer, I actually had signed up for a violin making class. It's given in Quebec City in a cégep. It's a 3-year program. And again, life gave us a twist, and that fell through, very unfortunately. And then I heard of these boot camps, violin making boot camps, out in Fertin, dans le Jura, in France, and they would give classes to learn how to make violins. So I signed up, and I went, and I made a violin. So I went twice. It's like a 2-week process, a 10-day, and
It's like a secluded retreat.
Yes, yes. And I made great friends there. I'm still in contact with. So, you know, anytime I go to France, I touch base with them, and it's a lot of fun. And these are musicians who are either professional musicians or just amateur, but they have an interest in making the instrument. So that's fun.
Yes,
So I did that 2 years.
You went all the way through that.
Yeah.
That's
And
really
then I
cool.
finished it here in Montreal.
Okay. And do you play it?
Of course I play it, yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. It has it's very different. The sound, its voice is very different from the other violins I have. So it's interesting to see. And you know, like I would play it in certain circumstances because it has a certain voice, or not in others because its voice didn't go well. So it's like wearing a pink dress to a funeral. It's like sometimes it sticks out, you know. So
Maybe too much.
A little, maybe too much. Yes.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Now, if we go back to visual arts,
Yeah.
I know because we met a couple of weeks ago, and you mentioned it, and you're going back to Florence to
Yay.
follow up with
With the frescoes. Yes.
exactly another love of yours.
Yes.
So
Well, that came about very interestingly. One day I was at my dentist, and she says, "Oh, you should go and take classes out in Europe, you know, like take a painting class or something, you know, like in the wild, and, you know, like I could see you in Tuscany, the rolling hills and this and that." And of course, when you're at the dentist, there are not many opportunities to talk. So I listened. And when I came home, I started looking for classes I could take. Like they have like week-long classes for, and you could do all kinds of mediums. But I was wanting to do a class that I could not do here. I could take acrylics here, I could take oil, I could take watercolor, but then I saw frescoes and I said, oh, that looks interesting. So I signed up. It's called the Leonardo da Vinci Art School. So you don't make it up; it just exists. And I went there twice already, and then the first time she had me work on a cinder block that weighs like so many kilos, so I couldn't bring it back home. So, unfortunately.
So what did you do with it? You left it with
I left it
friend?
there.
Oh, you just left it in the school?
Yeah, I left it there. Yeah, I left it at the school, and eventually what they do, they put a hammer to it and it just disappears. But I had done little tiles that I brought back, so that was all good. So when I went back, maybe 2 years later, I went to the same art school with this, and I had the same teacher, and I had prepared some supports that would be fitting to bring back.
Okay.
So I chose very light things, and I prepared them at home because you have to put a grid down first. And so I had the supports, I had the grid, and I could just start working. So that was fun. And then the school opened in the morning, so I could go and work a little bit before class, and then she would come and teach me. So that was lots of fun. So much fun that I'm going back. I phoned her and I said, do you still have something to teach me? So I concentrate on portable frescoes, not walls of frescoes. Leonardo did these very well, as did Michelangelo, so I'll leave those to them.
But you continued here with
I continued
your
here.
technique.
And the challenge was finding actually the proper materials, because of course I learned the Florentine way of making the frescoes with the Florentine colors. So some colors I can't find here, so I have to sort of figure out the recipe. And then there's, in the preparation of the frescoes, there's lime putty that cannot be found here in Canada, so I have to import it from the States.
Okay.
So, it's finding the materials, and once I found them, it was perfect. It was easy to get to do them finally.
And you get to practice your Italian too.
And I get to praticare il mio italiano, sì. Yes, so going back for a few weeks, another run.
That's really cool.
So, yeah.
I don't know if you'd like to add anything else to what we have already discussed.
Well,
if not,
you had mentioned maybe talking of upcoming things.
yes, that's what I was getting to.
Ah,
Before
okay.
going there, just
Okay.
checking if you wanted to add anything. If not, looking ahead.
Well, I find that in the West Island, artists they're a nice bunch of people, and they share easily their practices if you ask questions, and so that was very important in the making of Louise Langlois art. And it's nice, and they give constructive feedback, so that's always good, and I appreciate
Yeah, I think you're
this
right.
little bunch of people. I mean, many of the West Island artists.
I got
Roxana,
to know, and as you mentioned, I think it's a very nice group of people, the artist scene, and it's quite wide. There are a lot of artists, and there is
so
place
many
for
mediums.
everybody.
Yeah.
Exactly, a variety, a great variety,
Yeah.
and as you mentioned, there are different events, activities that are taking place, especially summertime, where also kids can enjoy
summer
and play,
camps
and so
yes.
to give a taste of what art is, and who knows, maybe another great artist is gonna come out.
Yes,
from
exactly.
those, yeah.
I mean, with the support of others, because
Exactly.
making art is a very c'est la solitude. You're in your bubble and you do what you need to do,
Yeah.
but you need to go out and reach.
And see what others are doing. And I know a great thing that you did at Beaconsfield Artists Association, and I think also other groups like Artist Circle, they would invite, or not necessarily from outside, but also an artist within the association to present their technique and talk about their technique, so that others could experiment, and even if it's not something that they would necessarily include in their art, but
there's always something to learn.
Exactly. So you never know when you're gonna apply that, or even just know it, and you know, just to appreciate
your notes,
and appreciate others artists' art. You know,
yeah, of course. Yeah, we do that at the Lakeshore Artists also.
Yeah.
And during the pandemic, of course, there were no live meetings, so we got to have artists on Zoom
Cool.
from Australia, from BC,
Wow.
from Ontario, that would never set foot in Montreal.
Yeah.
So
That's one of the
silver
positive.
lining. It's a little silver lining of the pandemic.
Of course, but then it's a positive side of things. That that's true.
Yeah.
So now, if we're looking towards the future,
looking forward in my crystal balls, like the crystal ball.
do you have any dream projects or collaborations?
Yes. Well,
that you are planning.
When I moved into the studio here, a friend of mine and me had discussed. She's also an artist, and I trust her very, very much. And she says, "Louise, you have to give yourself permission." So I have this word written a few places on my work table. Permission. It's just here, right beside here. Just because of the curiosity I have, she says, think outside the box. Try to do things differently sometimes. We'll always recognize it's you, but you need to give yourself permission to do things. So I'm thinking way outside the box because I'm actually right now preparing a show for 2025 with a good artist friend of mine. So it's a collaboration where we're going to have a series of 8 paintings to start with, and he lives in Gaspé. So there's going to be 8 paintings, and then I'm going to have the first 4, and he's going to have the last 4. And we found a theme, a way to connect both our worlds, because our artistic worlds are very different. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see that. So that's coming. Stay tuned.
Yes, and where is the exhibition going to be shown?
The first show is going to be in Saguenay. There's a gallery out there that wants this show. And then we're going to try to find venues here in Montreal. Like there's a very nice venue in Lachine at La Maison, at La Salle de l'Entrepôt.
Oh, yes,
so
by the water.
Yeah, by the water. So we want to
see if it fits your...
Yeah, well, we have to do a few paintings and then apply. And then we see, they say yes. Yay!
Well, I thank you so much, Louise. I don't know if you want to add anything in our at the end of our interview, but it was great talking to you. It is always great talking to you.
Yes, it is.
Even if it's not on camera.
I miss the store.
Yeah, everybody tells me that. So we moved online. Also, the silver lining of the pandemic. And what I'm trying to do is to continue the work that we did at L'Artelier to promote local art and local artists. So I'm really happy that I can do that. Thank you so much.
Yes. So maybe we could go outside to have a little walk by the water.
Yes, and then I'll take a few shots of the of your studio, which is amazing. It has a great light, and it's good to see you at work.
Yes.
So
well, this is my bubble.
Thank you for letting us in your bubble, Louise.
My pleasure. Anytime.
Thank you, and thank you all for watching us.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah. So I was talking about the mesh before. So this is a Greek scene. And you have the mesh behind here. I thought I'd leave it open so
that holds
it looks old. So so sometimes I leave it like here also, and then sometimes I don't. Like
you finish all the way.
I finished the edges. Yes.
I have a fresco painting with a cup of tea.
Series.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that because
so the
it was a great. Is this part of that?
Yes,
the one
the twinnings there. Yep. The teacup series was an opportunity I gave myself to have a cup of coffee or cup of tea with friends, and I would take a photograph of our cups, and then that became
Part
a
of
fresco.
the
It
series.
became a fresco, and that was a series I painted. I said, oh, maybe I'll do 12. I did 37.
And you had an exhibition at Studio 77
Studio 7,
in
yeah.
Point Claire Village.
Yes. So that's always that was fun, yeah. And then the next series, which you see some of here, like the spoons, the cutlery. This guy here also, but the spoons and the cutlery was in the glass up there was during the pandemic. I missed having people over, so I would take my preferred dishes when I would have people over, and I painted them. Why not? It kept me close to people that way.
And these small ones are part of the series of violins that
violin
you are,
series, yes.
and
see,
what you mentioned earlier, that
yeah.
you're incorporating
So
strings
here you
and
have an actual violin string, and it's sewn on, so it goes to the seamstress I am.
yeah.
And then the other one here has take this away, has a bridge and a peg.
Oh, that's really nice.
So try to integrate them as much as I can.
Very nice.
Yes, it is.
More violins here.
Yeah.
And
The
the
scroll.
peg detail. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one is a retired violin, and you're giving it a second life, right?
Yeah, well, I keep it as a model for the proportions.
Oh, okay.
Also. But yeah, I mean, it's. You want a sneak peek into a violin?
Let's see.
Can
Something will like.
so we may cut it out.
Yeah.
But yeah,
well,
it's
cool.
so you see like parts of the violin. Whoops, the end block. The dust.
And
So,
it sits
it sits
by
probably
your
here. Yeah,
wonderful
Yeah.
courtyard here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a place where you mentioned that there are a lot of artist studio, or at least
Yes.
at the beginning there were only artist studio,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
then it
but
evolved.
Now there's a very good population still, and it's called the Complexe du Canal de la Chine, and it's in St. Henry, as you said before. And there are many artists, and we organize shows, open houses, various ways to have our friends, family walk by and visit others, which is a lot of fun. Oh, that's another one.
Yeah, a colorful one this time.
Yeah, I'm not sure where I'm going with it quite yet. I mean, it's part way there. Like the space here. See, so the windows are the old style.
Oh, that's so nice.
They hook up.
Ah,
So you can keep it like that.
clever.
Clever. Yeah.
Louise showed us the La Chine Canal also, that's very close to the studio.
So this is so much nice.
So nice.
It's so much nicer on a non-rainy day.
Yes, like
But
today,
yes, like
even
today.
with the clouds, but it's okay.
So there's whole living community out here, and it's just
A lot of
gorgeous by the
bikers.
Yeah, bikers, walkers, dogs, picnickers, all kinds,
And artists.
and artists. Yes, and you could take this route and make it all the way to the West Island,
Yeah, exactly, to La Chine.
and all the way downtown to the Montreal if you wanted.
Yeah. Thanks again, Louise.